What's going on, people? So, today, January 6th, 2024, right? Which means that 5 years ago, January 6th, 2019, for those who need a little assistance with the math, that was the first time that I sat down right here. Well, okay, it wasn't right here, but it was on a couch, just not this couch, and started doing the whole shoe review thing, right? It was me. I had this guy right here. This is the Ocho, the Note 8. Some of you guys might remember this from those earlier videos. And a makeshift tripod, because I didn't own one at the time, but what I did own was a bunch of shoe boxes, and I just stacked them up fairly nice, fairly neat, sat that phone on top of it, and just started rambling away. That's probably how that first video went. I have not watched it. I don't watch any of my content because it just seems weird, honestly. But that's kind of how I feel like it went over. But who knows, whatever. Either way. So, also, back then, right, I'll let you in on a little secret real quick before I get into things. When I did start this channel, just to make sure that when people came across it, if they did come across it, to make sure they saw I wanted to make sure they saw a bunch of videos to make it look like an actual channel, right? So what I did was between the 6th and 19th or so, I recorded a whole mess of videos, right? Sit down, do my little marathon sessions, as I still do today, actually. And I believe it was, if I counted right, a total of 19 videos that I uploaded, right? So that was around the 19th of January when I created the channel and started uploading stuff. But then it was the 21st when I actually released everything, made it public. So that's like the actual birthday of this channel, if you will. But either way, so when I sat down with this whole idea, right, obviously it wasn't like a brand new thing. I wasn't like, oh, this is going to take the internet by storm. You've never seen a person sit here and talk about shoes on the internet, right? It's 2019, excuse me. That had been done already. I had personally just noticed that maybe 2 years earlier at some point in 2017 was when I was introduced to the shoe section of YouTube. Prior to that, it was all just a bunch of music videos and stuff, a lot of Seos and Taking Back Sunday, some Chili Peppers here and there, That's what I used YouTube for. And occasional tech things or whatever. But anyways, so it wasn't new because I had been watching Oh It's Teddy and Thomas the Franchise, Seth Fowler, who else? Fomer Simpson, those were definitely my favorites. Mike Rich was in there kind of a little bit or whatever. Tony D2 Wild, right? Did I say that right? I know there's a 2 in there. I just always feel like it doesn't roll off the tongue right when I say it. Either way, so I've been watching things, so I kind of knew that it was a thing that people did, right? But it was not until some time later, about a year and a half later probably, I was over at the big building with all the stores in it, right? And I'm down there to pick up the pine green ones. This was 2018, so it's obviously the 1.0, which didn't have a 1.0 in the title because it was the first one. Why would you need that? Either way, so I'm down there to pick those up, right? And I see this dude over here, and he's got his phone out, and he's talking about some kind of LeBron something or other, right? And I'm like, wonder what's going on there. So I'll wait till the dude's done, right? Because I'm not one to interrupt people. I try not to, right? If anything, I just avoid people for the most part. But I was curious. I was intrigued. I wanted to know what was going on here. So I go and I ask him, I'm like, hey, dude, what's going on here? What's all this all about? Probably in a different way. He's like, yeah, man, I'm Skip Goes Hard. What's going on? You trying to be in a video? He didn't say it exactly like that, but he did introduce himself to me and then asked if I wanted to be in this video for a clip to say something. So that ended up being my first time on YouTube in this whole shoe thing, actually. So if you go back to 2018, maybe September, that sounds right, you might see me in one of those videos. Either way. So I saw that and I was like, oh, well, that's interesting, because up until that point, I'd always seen YouTube people as these larger than life personalities where it's oh, they've got camera crews and production crews, they got all kinds of people working with them and they're just there doing the main thing, you know what I'm saying? And then I saw him and I'm like, oh, apparently anybody can do this, right? And if you look at the internet nowadays, yeah, it's very clear that anybody can do this. But he, for me, was to quote Jay White here, if you will, the catalyst that kind of got me into thinking this could be a thing, I guess, right? Later on when I was, 5 years later roughly. So I sat down and I'm like, well, I've got some free time, I got some shoes. I could be one of those guys that makes shoe videos on YouTube, I guess, maybe, until I find something better to do. And here we are 5 years later. Apparently something better to do has not come. But here's the thing, right? So that first year, things are moving along. They're doing all right. You know what I'm saying? I'm out there. I'm kind of getting some stuff uploaded and pumping out the videos left and right, you know. A lot more consistently back then, but that's because the production value did not exist. It was like I sit down, I talk. Eventually I started like clipping in those on feet things and whatnot. Remember that? The first version, how it was like the two. And so I was doing that for a little while, you know. Getting my mind into things, figuring out stuff, you know, because I didn't have any plan. I was just like, I'll figure it out. I'll just let it all work itself out maybe. And I met a whole bunch of cool people over that first year and other later years too, sure. So there was people like McFly KOF, right, who has a slightly different name. I just don't know what it is. 704? That sounds fair. Either way, so people like him I met back then, right? And other people that were kind of new to it, you know, like back in the freshman year, if you will, the rookie season. They were also having their kind of rookie season of getting things all situated. Some were a little before me by a few months, some a little after me, whatever. But people like him and some others, like they stuck around, at least in my personal life. And like I was at the dude's wedding, you know, like we talk about wrestling all the time. So I made some actual, I know how this is going to sound, but I made some actual friends out of some of these people, right? And they weren't just like random avatars on the internet that I just like see pop up once in a while. So that was cool, right? Unfortunately, there were some people that I considered pretty good friends or like liked watching their stuff or whatever that, I don't know, man, they just didn't quite make it. So you have people like, say, Danger Russ, right? I was really into watching his videos. Like, I don't even know how to describe them. It was just like, you ever see that show, like, what was it? Off the Air, I think it was. It used to be on like Cartoon Network or, well, Adult Swim or whatever. Where it's just like nonsense and you're just like watching, you're like, yeah, I could get into this. It was like that sometimes, but like, I don't know, I was just into it. And then he just disappeared. And I'm like, well, I didn't have like a phone number or email address or anything to really talk to this guy, just the comments, so I don't know what happened there. And even Tokyo Butter 23, right? He was one of the very first people I met, you know? And to this day, honestly, I have not seen anybody work so hard on like in this little YouTube space, right? And maybe his videos may not necessarily show some of it, you know? But if you think about it, like if you think about the research and then the producing the videos and the fact that he's teaching all day and then he's got the daughter to deal with at night and he's carving in little bits of time to like produce these things. He did a video every day for like 1,000 days, right? Yeah. And then he stopped existing digitally. And I don't know whatever happened to him, you know? Which is weird because he was a pretty cool dude. He used to talk a lot, at least whenever I would make a video or he would make one, we'd talk about some things that had some similar interests, then just kind of went away, which is unfortunate, you know? And then part of me, like I look at it and think like, man, like there were so many people, and there's others that like were doing this, and they had like such a passion for this thing, like that I just do not have. Mine is like bare minimum. And so they're out there and like they just kind of fall away and here I am. But I will say, there are some other people that used to be around and are not around, and I am totally on board with that. Because here's the thing, right? When you see people and they're sitting there and they're talking, they're like, oh, hey, check this out, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Then the video's over. You don't get a whole lot of personality in everybody's videos, right? And that's because I think they hide it because they know they're terrible. So some of these people, I end up finding out later after dealing with them a little bit, like behind the scenes or whatever. I'm like, this is not the kind of person I care to associate with. So then you just kind of like X them off and like, okay, you're blacklisting these guys, maybe that girl too, and you. I don't like you either, right? It happens, right? It's not all sunshine and rainbows here in the YouTube world. Just put that out there. But so I look at all that, right? And I think to myself, how in the world am I still here, right? It's just kind of weird to me, right? Because when I look at all the people that like want more out of this and they're like actually putting in like some real effort to like get there, or it seems anyway. Some people just want to be at the top but don't really care to do the work. Like I'm not including them, not so much anyways. But I look at those guys and then I think like this channel has done okay, right? I mean the views up until last year, because I mostly took the year off, honestly, after school, I just was like, I'm just gonna take a break for a while. But I'm getting back into it. So excluding 2023, the years prior, this thing was doing all right, this here channel. And I was like, well, that's interesting, kind of weird, because it's like, I always felt like it was in some ways undeserved. It's like a weird sort of like survivor's guilt in a way, you know, just question your own relevance, like Less Than Jake would talk about. If you're an In With The Out Crowd fan, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I would look at me and I'm thinking like, how am I getting any attention here in this little world, right? It just blows my mind to this day. And I've said that a million times in the past. I'm sure I'll say it a few more million times in the future until I find something better to do than this or whatever. So it's really strange to me. And then past that, one of the other things about these people like that I've kind of like lost touch with and such, right? I look at some of the other things that have kind of been like drifting away, and that's meeting newer people, right? Because maybe I wouldn't notice the lack of people I used to know if I knew more people all in all, you know what I'm saying? But since I haven't been super active in this and I don't like watching YouTube videos, that kind of puts me at a disadvantage to like meeting people that do this, right? Which is fine, because in other times I was also a lot closer to more of the subscribers, right? I mean, the number was lower, so in a way, like, you kind of should know more of them. Now I've got like 9,000 some kind of whatever, and I know like 6 of them. You know, there's Logan J, there's ACS Sneakers, there's Kyle, right? There's P-Town. You know, like, there's that person that just told me like they used to have a different account. I guess maybe I know them under their previous name. I don't know. There's Muss, who like I don't know what happened to him. He went through some hard times. He only responds to my messages every like 6 months. So good luck to him out there. Hopefully he's doing kind of okay. But either way, so I look at that and I'm like, this is weird, right? Because I'm not a people person, but I wouldn't mind meeting and knowing more people, because that kind of gives you an incentive to do this, you know what I'm saying? And all this stuff, it's just all a bunch of things you just kind of think about, because again, it's the birthday's coming up, start to reflect on things. I mean, I don't do that with my actual birthdays, because I mean, I've had almost 42 of them. They're kind of all the same, they just run together. This is a little different, because like I can look at it almost from the outside in, and like also see like a lot more visual representation of it. There's a whole roadmap of things, right? When I'm scrolling through stuff looking for things, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. What happened to that guy? Or when I look at my subscription list, which I don't subscribe to a lot of things, which is why I never really push it. And I'm like, a lot of these numbers or a lot of these names don't get the little blue dots anymore, like to show that there's new content. It's weird, right? But anyways, like I bring all this stuff up for no real reason other than that it's just something that I've been looking over, thinking over, usually when I'm driving around and stuff. So I figured, you know what, I'm gonna sit down and talk about that, because why not, you know? So if you listen to it, if you don't listen to it, doesn't matter. I've already said it. What's done is done. From me to you, have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night, whatever it is, wherever you are. I don't know when I'll have other real content. I mean, my aunt sent me some shoes, which I actually did an unboxing on YouTube Live today, because I figured, you know what? It makes sense, you know, anniversary sort of deals or whatever. But I don't know past that, because I just did like 43 YouTube or 43 actual straight up shoe reviews, right? Like true content in the last month. So I'm not really looking to edit anything right about now. Even this, I don't think I'll edit. It'll probably just, I mean, I might touch up the color a little bit, because colors look a little bland in the camera sometimes. But that's probably gonna be it. I don't have anything else to say. I've rambled enough. Later, people.